What's going on, guys? Another beautiful day to talk about Ranger School. So a big thing that I get asked about a lot actually is Rap Week and how do you get through Rap Week? What is Rap Week? What are the gates at Rap Week? What are the things that I should prepare for? What are the things that most people fail? You know, this, that, and the other. A lot of different questions regarding Rap Week. And real quick, before I even get into it, I just want to let you guys know, if this is your first time on this channel is full of good information about Ranger School. I've got tons of videos about Ranger School on this channel. The more information you have prior to showing up to Ranger School, the better off you're going to be. And there are tons of resources on this channel to help you with that journey. All right, so make sure to like and subscribe and go check out those other videos after this. But for now, let's talk about Rap Week. Now, I have some cool data and statistics that I was actually able to get my hands on in relation to the most recent Rap Week, and I'm going to be sharing that with you in this video to hopefully give you a little more perspective and a little more expectation on what it is you actually have to make sure that you're prepared for before you show up to Ranger School. And for those of you that don't know, if you're just unaware, Rap Week is the first week of Ranger School, and it's basically a assessment and selection for all the would-be Rangers that show up to Ranger School to get through different gates that they actually have to pass in order to move on to the rest of Ranger School and actually do the training itself. And Rap Week is pretty tough. The majority of dudes and dudettes that show up to Ranger School just aren't prepared enough to get through Rap Week, and it's usually around somewhere in the vicinity of 50% of all those students that show up don't even make it through Rap Week and continue on their journey through Ranger School. Sometimes it's a little higher, sometimes it's a little lower, but it's somewhere around the middle there. Now, there's 5 main events that you have to pass at Rap Week in order to move on for the rest of Ranger School. That's the RPA, the Ranger Physical Assessment, or the RPFT, whatever you want to call it. The CWSA, which is the Combat Water Survival Assessment. RTTs, the Ranger Task, that's when you're assembling and disassembling weapons, doing the functions checks, setting up the claymores, you know, those sorts of things. Land Nav, where you have to get at least 4 out of 5 points. And to top everything off, the 12-mile ruck march. That's the last thing you'll do at Rap Week, the last test. And then, of course, there's other events during Rap Week that'll be sprinkled in and around these other testing events, like the Malvesi Obstacle Course, the Combatives Pit, getting all your gear ready for the rest of Ranger School if you're actually going to be part of that. You won't have a lot of free time in Rap Week. In fact, I want to say the average amount of sleep that you'll get is somewhere around 4 hours a night, which in reality is more than you'll normally get throughout the majority of Ranger School. All right, so that was the quick review of what Rap Week is. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into that, but that's the things that you need to be concerned with. So let's get into the statistical data that I mentioned before. So I want to go over the physical events first, okay? And that's the RPA, Land Nav, and the 12-mile foot march. So for the RPA or the RPFT, you've got to be able to get 49 solid push-ups, okay? Like strict push-ups, chest all the way down, even hitting the ground. 49 of those within 2 minutes. And the RIs are going to be hard on you with that. Expect it. 59 sit-ups in 2 minutes, that one's not too hard. Shouldn't have to worry too much about that one. The 5-mile run, which you have to complete within 40 minutes or less. And a big key thing to hone in on here is that there's 2 time gates that are part of this 5-mile run, meaning you'll get to a certain mileage distance, and if you're not meeting the standard in time at that point, they're just going to stop you right there and you failed. Okay, so the first time gate is at 2.5 miles, so the halfway point. If you're not there within at least 21 minutes, you're done. All right, and then the second time gate's at 3.75 miles, so 3/4 of the way done. If you're not there within 31 minutes, they're going to stop you. You're done, and then you have to finish it up within 40 minutes or less. I always like to tell everyone that they should be showing up to Ranger School, being able to run a 5-mile run within 37 minutes and feel pretty comfortable with it, okay? You need to be at that level before you show up to really solidify your chances of passing this run. And then the last part of the RPA is the chin-ups, and you have to do 6 all the way up over the bar, all the way down, elbows extended, and back up again 6 times. They used to have the RI stand in front of you, and if you did a chin up and you touched the RI, then you were done. You failed, all right? They don't do it that way anymore, but what they do now is they have a rope that hangs in front of you, and if you touch that rope, then you're done. You fail. So it's the same concept, you just don't actually touch the RIs anymore. So that's what you can expect with the RPA. For Land Nav, nothing really has changed here recently. You've got to be able to score 4 out of 5 points within the time standard, which is a total of 5 hours. And they break that up with half and half of it being night and half of it being day. and they run it night into day. So you'll start it really early in the morning, it's still dark out, and you'll move into daylight as you finish up your land nav. I've got a whole video on more on how to pass land nav at Ranger School. I'm not gonna get into it here, but you can check that out right here. And then you've got the 12-mile foot march. You have to be able to get that done within 3 hours or less, and that one has mileage gates as well. If you're at the turnaround point, the 6 miles in, and you're not making it within an hour, 31 minutes, and 30 seconds, they're gonna put you on the bus, you're done. The second gate is at 8 miles, so if you're not making that faster than 2 hours and 1 minute, you're done. And the third and final gate's at 10 miles, and it's 2 hours and a half. And again, if you're not making it in that time, you're done. So the important key takeaway with those gates is that they are right on the dot of that 15-minute mile. So I like to say again, with the 12-mile ruck march, you should be able to comfortably show up to Ranger School doing a 12-mile ruck march to standard within 2.5 hours. Okay, that's really what you should be able to do. You got to understand that the 12-miler at Rap Week is the last event of Rap Week, and you're already smoked from doing everything you've done throughout the whole week as it is. So your legs are just smoked, you're tired, you're malnourished, you haven't slept well, and now you gotta go do a 12-miler to standard, okay? So just keep all that in mind, make sure you're trained up before you go. Now I wanna get into the statistical data that I've got from the most recent Ranger School. I don't want to use this to scare you or to deter you from showing up. I just want to show you what people are failing, and hopefully this shows you to take it seriously and to actually train up for these events appropriately so you don't become one of these failures, okay? All right, so Rap Week for class 1122. On day 0, there was 299 students that had processed, all right? So almost 300. And nobody was dropped for the packing list. That's actually awesome, okay? Even when I went, there was I want to say anywhere between 5 or 10 Rangers that got dropped just for the packing list alone. So that's actually really good. That's a good statistic right there. But you need to take the packing list seriously. They will drop you. This was just kind of a one-off course, I think. Week 1 failures, total, out of Rap Week, there was 126 total drops. So you can see that was almost 50%. Like I said, 50 to 60% is pretty average for Rap Week there. For the RPFT, 69 studs did not pass the RPFT. To me, that's completely unacceptable. You should absolutely be passing the RPA when you show up to Rap Week. You don't do anything before the RPA. You show up there, you in process, you get your briefs, you go to sleep, you eat. They don't smoke you before the RPA. You don't get a whole lot of sleep. You get 4 hours. You wake up pretty early. But that's really the only thing you got going against you when it's time to do the RPA. So if you're not passing the RPA, you had no business showing up to Ranger School, all right? But as you can see here, a majority of failures was from the first initial test, the RPFT. Unacceptable. 49 of that 69 didn't pass the push-ups, all right? And I know a lot of you out there are saying, okay, they got 48'd, the instructors didn't like their face, whatever excuse you have to think that that is the reason why they're not passing push-ups, I can tell you, the RIs are completely fair if you go there knowing that you are going to be tested extremely strictly for the push-up. I mean, like, so extreme. Just know that. You need to practice that way. Your push-ups, like I said, you should be all the way extending your arms, and your chest should be hitting the ground for every single push-up. All right, 49 is not a lot of push-ups, but they got to be to exceptional standard. Train that way. Only 4 got dropped for the sit-ups. I'm actually surprised to see any for the sit-ups there. 14 got dropped for the 5-miler. That's not bad. The 5-miler isn't an easy gate, but 14 got dropped for the 5-miler and 10 got dropped for the chin-ups. And I'm betting they either just couldn't quite make that last 5 or 6, or they hit the rope. Now, one thing I want to say is that you will get a second chance for the push-ups and the sit-ups. If you just psych yourself up and just completely screw up your form with the push-ups, it's not the end of the world. You'll be sent over, you'll get your 10 minutes of rest, and you'll be able to test again, okay? Don't think all is lost if you don't pass the first round of push-ups. Plenty of guys and gals will pass the push-ups on the second round. Okay, that being said, you want to try to get it done the first time, okay? So that's the RPA in a nutshell. Again, make sure you're trained up appropriately and it won't be an issue. If you can knock out an RPFT to like really high standards, the ones that I mentioned before, on any given day before you show up to Ranger School, it won't be a problem for you at all. Don't go in there risking it. Don't go in there running a 39-minute 5-miler. You need to run faster than that. All right, for combat water survival assessment, only 2 failed that. Most likely they're just super weak swimmers, and it's just unfortunate. It usually is only 1 to 2 to maybe 3 rangers are going to get dropped at the CWSA. It's not hard. If you can just hold your own in a pool, you'll be okay. But you know, some people have a really hard time swimming. They can't tread water for 5-10 minutes, and unfortunately they get dropped there. But you got to be able to swim, so that's just the way it goes. But I wouldn't stress on that if you are a decent swimmer. It's not hard. RTTs, 30 total got dropped for RTTs. That also, to me, is unacceptable. You've got to be going over your basic tasks, your skill level 1 tasks, your disassembly and assembly of a 240 Bravo or 249 SAW. You got to be able to work a radio. You got to be able to set up the Claymore. The Claymore is really the hardest one just because there's a lot of steps in it and you only get so much time. You've got to practice these things prior to showing up, and you got to be good at it, okay? I'm not exactly sure, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure you can only fail each event once, but you can only fail 2 events total, all right, to be a complete drop. But double check on me with that. There is an app out there called the Ranger Pro app, and that is a great app to get when you're training up for Ranger School. They have like the most recent standards for RTTs on there that you can use to make sure you're hitting the marks or you're training up appropriately to Ranger standard. And there's also a whole bunch of other resources in that app. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything. It's just an awesome app. So it's a Ranger Pro app. Definitely check that out. Make sure you're prepared with RTTs before you show up and you feel completely confident and capable to do each and every one of them. Don't leave anything to chance. You don't want to fail from RTTs. It's just stupid. Land nav 17 failed, and I would say that's pretty average. A good portion of guys will fail land nav. You know, you got your good days and you got your bad days sometimes with land nav. Again, I have a whole video on this that should help you guys out. I want you to go check that out when you're done with this if you want to review that. And as far as landing nav goes, I think it's a very useful video. I'll drop it in the description, and it's in this video as well. Land nav at Ranger School is not the hardest land nav course out there, but I promise you it's not the easiest. There's a lot of nuances that are specific to the Ranger School land navigation course that might throw you off your game even if you're like a really good land naver. There are just certain things about that course that might cause issues for you. So go watch that video when you get a chance. And then you got the 12-mile foot march. 12 dudes, after all that they've been through, could not hack it at the 12-mile foot march. That's super unfortunate because they were really close to getting through Rap Week and continuing on with Ranger School. And that's really, like I said before, you're just super tired by the time you get to the 12-miler. A lot of RIs will smoke your legs to death before you even start the 12-miler just to make sure that you are below average as far as your physical capacity to be able to handle a 12-mile ruck. You want to make sure that you're showing up being able to run a 12-mile ruck within 2.5 hours. Okay, that's a standard you need to set for yourself so that you're comfortable enough to get through the 12-mile foot march. And don't fall behind 14-minute miles, or at least 14:30. Okay, never find yourself at a 15-minute mile when you're doing that ruck, or you're really going to be pushing it when you come up to those time hacks, those gates where you have to get there at a certain amount of time, or they're just going to put you on the bus before you even get a chance to finish. And then you've got the unfortunate ones. You got the medical drops, 5 medical drops that could have happened at any time during Rap Week. It's very risky. There's a lot of things you're getting tested on physically. You know, you got the obstacle course, combatives, pit. If you're not training up endurance appropriately, then you are risking the chance of getting stress fractures in your legs, severe shin splints, things like that. So unfortunately there are medical drops. This one only had 5, so not too bad. Make sure you're trained up appropriately and make sure you're being careful with yourself during Rap Week. And then serious observation reports, those are just like safety violations, or maybe you got caught cheating with RTTs, something like that. These guys, they either try to cheat, so they're just turds altogether, or they just made a mistake and they did a safety violation. I can't think of an example right now, but those things happen too. Just really pay attention to what you're doing. You're going to be tired. You know, you're not going to have, not everything is going to be working upstairs the way it normally does. So just really do your best to focus, pay attention to what you're doing to avoid being one of these serious observation report drops. But these statistics are pretty typical when it comes to Rap Week. I don't see that being too far off from what mine was, and I went to Ranger School in 2018. So that's what you can expect. I don't think your Rap Week, whenever you go, will be too far off from that statistically as far as drops go. And you can see most of it comes down to the physical testing, the physical gates. So if you can get through Rap Week, that's great. That means you are physically prepared to handle the rigors of Ranger School. That's really the test. If you can get through Rap Week, then the RIs, the Ranger School gods, have determined that you are physically capable of getting through the rest of the course. And the number one thing you have to focus on when you're physically training up for Ranger School is overall endurance, muscular and cardio endurance. I'm going to throw it out there, all right? GrittySoldier.com has the very best Ranger School fitness program you will find, period. If you want to take the guesswork out of your training altogether, just get that program, follow it, and you will be prepared for Rap Week and everything that follows on for the rest of Ranger School. But if you want to leave it to chance, you know, that's fine. Just make sure that you are really putting a huge focus on endurance. You're putting a lot of focus on your running, your rucking, a lot of focus on rucking, okay, guys? Because that's like, you just live with a ruck on your back in Ranger School. So you have to ruck a lot, you have to run a lot to really help you build that muscular endurance, that cardiovascular endurance, as well as your bone density, okay? Because the last thing you want is shin splints that eventually turn into, you know, stress fractures in your bones because you didn't train up. You didn't give yourself enough time to train up appropriately. Start training now. Then you also have to work on muscular endurance. So that doesn't mean going to the gym and lifting, you know, 5 for 5 or lifting super heavy. You need to stop that right now. You do need to lift weight, but it should be more focused on complex lifts, Olympic style lifting sometimes, and then strengthening the muscle groups that you're actually going to use, not the ones that just look good. So you're going to want to strengthen the arms, you're going to want to strengthen the legs, you're going to want to strengthen the chest. And all the while, you need to make sure that you're focusing on flexibility, because you're constantly moving and you're constantly being tested in that aspect as well, especially when it comes to the obstacle courses. You know, if you show up there, this big beefy guy that doesn't have any flexibility, and you try to go out there and run, you know, the Malvesti or the Derby Queen especially, it's a pretty good chance you're going to like tear a rotator cuff or tear an ACL because you just didn't have that flexibility to begin with going into the obstacles. And with that being said, if you have obstacle courses on your post or wherever you're assigned and there's some sort of obstacle courses available to you, even if it's not exactly like Malvesti or Derby Queen, go and run it. Get used to doing obstacles. So you do your best to mimic an obstacle course as best to your ability. That'll help you when it comes down to the obstacle course. It'll give you more confidence as you're going through, and it's going to help you to work the correct, you know, I like to call them tweaker muscles when you're actually running through those obstacle courses at Ranger School. But again, if you just get the 13-week Ranger School fitness program at GrittySoldier.com, which I will drop a link in the description for you, you won't have to worry about figuring out what you should be doing. It'll all be dictated to you, and all you have to do is read the program, follow it, execute, you'll be ready. Okay guys, I hope that was helpful for you. If I missed anything or you have additional questions that I just didn't think of for this video, please drop that in the comments. I do my best to go through all the different comments and answer all the questions to the best of my ability if I can get to it. Also, if you've been through Rap Week or you have some sort of advice yourself to give, please share that in the comments, okay? This is meant to be helpful for anybody that's watching the video, so please share your knowledge here on this platform. It's a good thing. We should be doing it more. I'm gonna say it one more time. Number one takeaway from this, you have to be physically prepared when you show up to Rap Week, when you show up for Ranger School. And the main focus needs to be on endurance, cardio and muscular. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video useful. And I'll drop some of these videos right here on this end screen. Definitely go check them out when you get the chance. It's only gonna help you, I promise. I hope the information on this video was helpful for you. Besides that, I've got nothing else for you, and I'll see you on the next one.